and picked him up and carried him over to the first aid place and said, I want you to give this guy a good burial because I'm going to have to see his parents one day and I want to tell them that we did the best we could.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of guy Wasson was. He was
Right.
just such a guy. And so he was shot there, and when I heard about it, I just always had kind of a guilty feeling to think, man alive, he was taking my place. And I just could have just as easily been me, but I wouldn't have been in the same circumstances probably, and just
Right.
God's time to
Wow.
do it. But I always had that guilt for a while, survivor's guilt there for a while.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Why don't we back up? So you get on the ships, late December. Do you know where you're going?
had no idea where we were going when we got on the ships. I did get to see my two brothers there. One of them, they were both in Pearl Harbor at the time, and one of them was right in Pearl Harbor docked, and the other was back into the bushes. I can't think. I used to know the name of that thing back in there. He had one of these destroyer gunships, is what he was on. I mean, these LCI gunship, and they didn't even wear uniforms half the time. They had the freewheelingest crew I ever saw. They never saluted an officer. They never. It was just a freewheeling bunch of those guys back there in the bush. And I went, and I was with my older brother first, and he was on a repair ship, and he was an electrician there to rewind motors for ships that had motors burned out and stuff like that, and that's what his job was. So anyway, I saw my other brother last, and he was on LCI 504. And that morning as we pulled out of, he didn't know, he said he thought they were pulling out before long, and that morning when we pulled out, the flotilla leader of our group was that LCI 504 was our leader. And I went up to the radio shack there and up the radio tower there in that ship and asked him to check and see if he was on that thing. I thought this is kind of quaint. And they said no, he had been transferred off that morning. Otherwise, he would have been my flotilla leader going over there.
Wow.
Which would have been kind of
Wow.
strange, but
Yeah.
so anyway, we started out, and after we got on sea a couple of days, why then they broke out the news and had these three-dimensional maps of Iwo Jima and began to go over the terrain and all the rest. And we headed out to Eniwetok and then to Kwajalein and stopped at one of those. I don't know which one we stopped at to get something. I don't know what, but then we headed on to Saipan and got to Saipan, and there were ships out there in Saipan as far as you could see, battleships and aircraft carriers and destroyers and cruisers and troop ships. Just as far as you could see were ships just stacked up against each other there. It was one of the largest convoys ever to be put together out there in that world. I heard the other day.
Sure.
So they again changed a few guys from one ship to another, kept kind of jostling around with the combat teams, and we made a couple little trips down the side of the ship and over the side and down the side and headed for the shore of Saipan.
Sure.
Came on back, and then that night we shoved off for Iwo Jima. And
So did you go ashore at Saipan?
no, we didn't.
Okay.
We just went over there kind of and then turned on around to come out. We were just some loading to see what the
Okay, just practice loading and
something that they were
yeah.
checking out with some other groups there too. That's what it was
Right.
for. I don't know what they
So then you leave Saipan.
left Saipan and headed for headed for Ewo, and 750 miles basically from Saipan to Ewo, and 750 miles from Ewo to Tokyo. And so we headed out for there, and we got into Iwo Jima the next night. It was dark when we got in. And those old battleships were bombing away at that island, and that was just a sight for me to see that battleship.
Sure.
Get a lot of broadside in the night. And we stood there and watched them hit, and that old shells hitting out there on Ewo, and you'd think they'd pounded that thing till there's nothing left. The whole island ought to be sinking, you'd think, you know.
Right.
So the next morning we got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they fed us a full turkey dinner for breakfast. A full holiday dinner, and pumpkin pie and dressing and chicken and turkey and the whole works. Greasy, I remember. And we stood out there on the deck afterward and watched those old guys shell that place, and you know, it didn't do anything much for me. I wasn't scared. I wasn't nervous. God just gave me a peace. I don't know why, but the next morning, what really amazed me was the choreographed way in which we went ashore. About 6 o'clock, my old Captain Austin, he said, "Okay, guys, let's get ready to go ashore, to go over the side." We queued up, and another bunch was queuing up beside us, another on this side, and we come down and got to the side of the ship, and that old rope cargo net, we stretched over and looked down, and the old sea was pretty rough. It was cloudy and raining and miserable morning. And that little old boat looked like a teacup down there, because it was coming way up and then it would go way down, and we threw our legs over the side. We had about 100 pounds weight on our back. We had telephones and radios and batteries and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So we had quite a bit. So we, I was carrying an M1 carbine as a rifle, and that gas mask was always in the road. And I can remember one day on Ewo, we got a gas alert that Japanese was using gas. And I pulled that thing out, and I think this was after I got shot, and I outfitted myself out of the dead man's pile. And I pulled that one out and put it on, and it went, boy, the air just flew right through it, you know. And I took it off and looked, and there's a bullet hole right through the cheek of it. So I started scratching for the repair kit, and scratched that old rubber thing, put the gooey stuff on, and put a patch on the hole. And I thought, man alive, this isn't bad news to have a big old hole in this thing. And I tried her again, and she was holding in, but that was after I got shot, and I went back ashore.
Yep, so let's go back. So you're coming down the cargo net, looking at the teacup. How was it getting in the boat?
Oh, it was all right. You know, you just had to keep one eye kind of on the guys ahead of you, up above you, because they'd be stepping on you, your fingers, and one guy down here, so you just... And we'd done it so many times, it was just almost second nature to us. We'd had close probably to 1,000 landings practicing. And in fact, I just couldn't get into the groove that this is a real thing. And after we got on the ship, HR was at 9 o'clock, and we loaded our boat, and then when we shifted on out away from the ship and went on out and joined some other guys that had already loaded in a big circle. And we just rendezvoused around out there until all the boats were loaded. And they came out and joined us. And then we kind of made that circle, just as a whole circle, just moved towards the beach. And when we got down towards the beach a ways, we began to... And that's what that picture up there is
Yeah.
I showed you is the boat's there, and that's but you can see my boat's there, but you can't see it, but you can see the wake.
Yep. At the end, we'll get that on video. So which wave do you land in?
Second wave,
Second wave.
and
And where were you?
I was on the end of the second wave.
Down by Sarabachi,
Left
right?
end, right.
Left end. Okay.
And right about, I'm just estimating, but it just seemed like it was just probably about, I didn't even have a watch, so I don't know. But it seemed like about 2 minutes till 9 or so. Everything just went dead. Silent, totally silent. Battleships quit firing, and for just about a few seconds there, everything was just dead silent. And then just out of the clouds, these dive bombers and fighter planes just came off of carriers, just came into sight down there and along the beach and started strafing the beach and dropping bombs with the dive bombers. But it was just so choreographed. Everything just was working right on schedule and on
Wow.
time. And we were out there trying to get our circle on out there to get spread out. And then when we got on out there, to begin to spread the circle out and just made a straight line out of it.
Get online, yeah.
And then I heard an airplane overhead, and I looked up, and an observation plane was out there telling the battleships kind of where to shoot, where the targets were, and where not to shoot, and so forth. He was there telling them that, and he got hit with anti-aircraft fire, and it was a little old F4U, or F6F, you know, those little Navy fighters. And he was trying to get out ahead of the back behind all of us boats that were coming out there. He was trying to get on out in kind of a open spot so he wouldn't come down where the boats were. And I heard his engine sputter, and I just looked up and watched it just in that nose tip down like this. And that old boy began to spiral down.
Huh.
And I just watched him till he got down and splashed in the water. And my first thought was, these guys, this is for real.
Yeah.
These guys are out to kill us.
Right.
And it just registered on me. This is the real stuff. Up until that time, it was just a
Practice.
redoing the practice stuff. And so we started on in, and we had a little old lieutenant that was nobody liked him. He was a rich boy. He went to VMI, and he thought he was a step above everybody else, and everybody disliked this little hair-up guy. And we get down towards the beach. That old coxswain, oh, those guys were so brave. Because when we got down there towards the beach, we could hear the bullets, 50 caliber machine gun bullets hitting the ramp of our boat. And you could see them going just over the top of the ramp. They're tracers. And rockets were flying around, our artillery was shooting around here and there, and when we got close to the beach, the boat next to the right of us, an artillery shell hit him direct, and we were all kneeling down on one knee and had our rifles like this to balance us, you know, in that landing craft, and LCVPs. And we had that to balance us, because when we hit the beach, we were picking up pretty big speed, and that thing was going to start scraping, and it'd slow us down pretty sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got down there, and we heard this big noise to the right of us, and we saw this LCVP next to us was way up in the air, turned upside down. That shell had hit it and
Wow.
knocked it clear out of the water and clear up in the air and upside down. And guys were falling out, their legs and arms frailing, and their rifles dropping, everything, and whatever the cargo they had in that thing,
Right.
they didn't have on them, was falling all over the place. And Then we started right on in, and that old lieutenant, he was standing, he got up and started yelling at that coxswain, go around, don't turn around. Man, he was scared to death, and the old coxswain just ignored him and kept right on bulling through there. I don't know how they had the nerve, because they had no protection at all. And he was standing right up there, and those machine gun shells were just flying all around him. Those guys, I have to take my hat off to them.
Wow. So
And
you hit the shore, and then what happens?
we hit the shore, the ramp went down, and out we went. And that lieutenant, somebody told us later that some officer had to pull his pistol on him and get him off that boat when we got in. I never hear what happened after that, but anyway, we got in and hit the deck just above the water line where the waves would come up. Because that old boat was making hay, boy, and we came in there and got clear up above the water line, just slid up in there. And we laid there, and boy, you tried to get as low as you could get, because those bullets were whistling over you, and shells were everywhere. And finally Captain Oss said, all right, guys, let's get off this beach. And he didn't lead from behind, he led from the front. He got up and took off. My first thought when he said, let's get off this beach and let's go, and my first thought was, go where, Captain? It's a wall of fire everywhere.